Good morning, traders. It's Wednesday, June 26th, 2019. I'm Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators. Quick reminder for you to press that thumbs up button on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you can be kept up to date on what we've got coming up in the very near future. And make sure you also put any feedback in the comments below. Anything that you would like explained, any specific symbols, tickers that you would like to be analyzed, or any comments, any suggestions, anything we can do to help you in your trading, please let us know. That is why we're doing this, is to help you. So let us know how we can do that better. With that, let's start by taking a look at the S&P 500. And S&P is pulling back, not terribly surprised. We tested, of course, or got very close to testing the all-time high right there, and then pulled off of it very quickly. And that's really what I was expecting. The all-time high, clearly the sellers came in as soon as we got there and pushed the market down, and it just couldn't get back up. So I'm not at all surprised to see it take a bit of a breather. However, this is not necessarily a doom and gloom moment. I'm not seeing any signs of a big catastrophic market failure there or anything. In fact, we do not have a divergence, for example, from these 2 times price was up there. We've actually got a stronger oscillator here than the last time. So this is actually looking kind of healthy, but a pullback is in order. Looking at the 60-minute chart, it looks to me like in this wave 3, we are basically looking at a wave 1, a wave 2, and a wave 3, kind of a short wave 3, and then it's looking like wave 4 here, which means we've got wave 5 still to go. And if this, in fact, is the way it plays out. Now, it's, of course, possible if the sellers decide to come in and push this lower, and we could have a further move down, in which case we might be looking at, say, an A and a B and a C, something like that. But right now, based on what I'm seeing on the oscillator extreme right at that level, I would not be at all surprised to see this be the end of this little pullback here, and see this market getting ready to push higher and buyers stepping in to buy the dip. But again, that would be a assuming, of course, that on a daily, this is a 1 and a 2. This would make for a very short wave 3. So I'm a little concerned about that. I don't really think that works all that well. So I do not believe that this is realistically done yet. I think there is probably going to be more upside to come. So we'll just have to watch for that. Right this moment, anyway, we still have higher highs and higher lows, certainly on the daily. The 13 EMA clearly is pointing up. The 50 is also pointing up, although it's not that steep. It's just kind of coming off of going sideways a bit and is starting to want to come up. The MACD is kind of kissing its signal line right now, trying to maybe show a little bit of weakness here, but that's really just this pullback. So that's not terribly surprising to see it do that. I certainly think that it could then reverse to the upside again, and the oscillator could continue to go higher. We'll have to just see if, in fact, this move here is done and this oscillator reading is confirming that or not. So the open this morning, first hour or so, will be important to see what this market wants to do. Does it want to continue this downwards candle and a little bit more downward momentum, maybe test the 50 SMA, something like that? Or is it done and ready to head higher as the buyers come in, like I said, to buy up that dip? So that's what we're watching for. But right now, technically speaking, a bigger term uptrend, bigger picture uptrend is clearly still intact. And right now, anyway, we don't yet have a confirmed sign of the 60-minute turning around. We're waiting for that oscillator to cross the 0 line. That would be a good sign of that. We did already have the MACD cross its signal line to the upside. So that's kind of the very first hint that this may be getting ready to turn around. And of course, clearly, if we take out that high there, then we are definitely looking to march higher. Let's take a peek at the Russell 2000 RTY futures, and they are looking pretty similar, although a little weaker. The Russell has had a bad few days here. Well, maybe not a bad few days, but it's been pulling back. It's been selling off a little bit. But on the daily, oscillator is still above the 0 line, and on the 60 anyway, this is looking like a pretty decent oscillator extreme here. So I would not be surprised to see this be the end of the pullback and see this market being kind of done there and ready to continue higher. We'll have to see if that is, of course, the way that it plays out. But based on my Fibonacci extension anyway, I am expecting to get a bit more. Whoops. Okay, there. Let's try that again. Get a bit more upside here, up into this area somewhere. And we'll have to just see if we actually get that. Again, maybe we can reach that 161.8 or not. But right now, I'm leaning towards this move is being done to the downside. Again, anything can happen if the sellers are scared enough and the buyers are not confident enough, then they will push it down further. But right now, based on what I'm seeing, it looks to me like the bigger picture uptrend is still intact. And we have not taken out this low here. So as long as that doesn't happen, then I'm looking for continuation to the upside. Of course, the RTY is weaker than the ES, than the S&P. I would like to see price get up above the 50 SMA. Right now, being below the 50 SMA on both the daily and the 60, bears are still in control. We're also below the zero line in the oscillator, but heading towards it. So we can break the zero line to the upside. That would be a good first sign that this market is probably done coming down, and then we'll be looking to trade to the bullish direction. All right, crude oil. Crude is still continuing to bounce very, very nicely, but look how weak it's getting. At this point, let me zoom in a little on that. It's just the candles are getting smaller, 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 and lots of wick. Look at how small the bodies are. Yes, there's volatility intraday, but open and close of the last three sessions has just actually this is the current session, last three sessions before today. But the open and close have been just in the same spot, the same basic spot. So there's no real conviction on a direction right now. They're starting and ending in the same place at the end of the day. So this is a very non-committal sign. The market is just not willing. Buyers are not willing to just buy and run with it, and the sellers are not willing to just sell and run with it. And everybody is stuck in an indecision mode right now. So we'll have to see what happens if the oscillator can really get up above the zero line and hold. Right now, it's basically right smack at the zero line. It's got to get up over that and hold up over that. And I'd like to see price get up above the 50 SMA as well. And hold there. That would be a good sign that there is some bullish momentum building in this market, and that it might be able to actually hold that momentum and move to the upside. 60-minute chart, we've also got a divergence going on. We've got prices heading higher. Prices heading higher while the oscillator gets significantly weaker. So that's a little concerning as well. Definitely there's not a huge amount of bullish momentum here, but you know, some good news from the Middle East comes out. An agreement is reached of some sort on the hostilities that are going on over there, and everybody kind of calms down. That could affect the price of oil. And you know, you would expect anyway that if things are going well in the Middle East, then that would be actually bearish for the price of oil, because of course it's supply and demand. And when there's hostilities going on, generally that puts a crimp on supply and price goes higher. But you know, we don't always see that. When the hostilities really kind of got going over in the Middle East, price actually did shoot upwards there a bit. But you know, tensions have been going on there for a while. This is not a new thing that just happened in the last few days. And we saw price actually come down. So it's not always as clear cut as problems in the Middle East, price immediately goes up. It depends really on what those problems are and how severe they are. But right now, anyway, I just would be very cautious about wanting to enter this market, just because of all this indecision we see. There's just no conviction to this move. So just hang back a little bit, wait and see if, I would say, wait and see if the oscillator on the daily can get over the zero line, and especially if it can get over the 50 SMA price, that is, and hold, then we could be looking for some follow through to the upside. All right, let's take a peek at gold. And gold has, again, surged higher very, very nicely. And it's well up over this 1404 level. Actually, I had moved this. I thought 1415 is that peak right there, and did get up above that. But then just as quickly, market sold it back down. And right now we're flirting with that level. We're right there. So buyers came right back up at around 1400. But the sellers have come in at around, you know, anything over about 1420 or so. So this is a treacherous moment here. Is this market going to sell off, profit taking, or not? But right now, I mean, look at that oscillator. It is extremely strong. We do not have any sign of a divergence at all. It is way, way up there, very, very high, very strong. It's not as extreme as it could be. I mean, you can see in the past it has been as high as this here in the not too distant past. And right now we're up there, but there could be a little bit more room to go. Still, that being said, I absolutely expect to see some significant resistance right around this area, which is not far at all from where this market, in fact, did fail to head higher. So I'm thinking that we could be kind of done for a little while. It is looking on the 60-minute like this market has pulled down in what could be maybe a wave A, and then maybe we'll have a B, and then maybe a C, a little bit further of a pullback, and then establish a higher low and head higher from there. It's also possible that we've actually already seen an A, B, C, and maybe an A, a B, a C, something like that. I do think this oscillator rating is pretty good for a pullback, so it might be done. But typically, what we see is a divergence going on, and so what I would really like to see is more along the lines of say maybe an A, a B, and a C. And when it gets down to C, we see a higher oscillator. We see a nice divergent oscillator heading higher as we get that third push down. So that's what I would really like to see to indicate that maybe this move down is done and we could be looking for some continuation to the upside. So right now, anyhow, definitely the current bull market in gold, in precious metals, still has life in it. It is not done yet. Don't yet see any definitive sign of it giving up. In fact, the 50 SMA is just hooked around and is going up, but this is just too steep of a move. This is a parabolic move, and that can't be sustained. So we need to pull back. It needs to come down off of this high a bit, and then establish a higher low, and then can head higher if the buyers are still nervous about the rest of the global financial situation, and that's generally what will trigger moves like this in gold. All right, natural gas is trying to finally bottom out and bounce. We've had a nice bullish candle reversal here, but we didn't get a lot of follow through after that. Yes, we're staying green, but very small bodies, not a lot going on there, and we were not able to break the high of this big bullish candle. So, kind of lackluster, a little bit anticlimactic here. I would have really liked to have seen this big bullish candle followed by a second bullish candle that gave it further push to the upside, and we don't have that. In fact, right now on the 60-minute, you can see how weak the oscillator is, and price has just not been able to get higher than this. So it's not looking really super bullish right now, looking a little bit on the weak side. That being said, it's not collapsing either. It is holding up here in this area. So if the buyers can hang on to that, if the 50 SMA can hold as support, if we can get head higher and take out this high here, then there could be some momentum to the upside. We need to watch that oscillator and see if the momentum is building for that move. And right now, you could argue that we're looking at a wave on a 60-minute, a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave maybe ABC. This is kind of a potentially ugly wave 4. It's just not real clear yet because it's still kind of trying to finish. So this is just right this moment, a sideways wait and see. We just don't have a clear-cut picture on what's going on. So you need to just give it a little bit to pick a direction and really stick with it. Unless if your risk parameters allow for it, certainly if you're bullish on natural gas, you could get in here. You're right at the 50, put your stop maybe just outside the low of this candle here, just a little bit outside the 50 SMA, and that would be a reasonable risk given the potential reward being at least maybe a test of the 50 SMA, something like that. So you've got a decent risk reward here. Just have to see if that suits your particular trading style, your particular account size and parameters, and all that good stuff, and then trade accordingly. All right, lastly, let's finish up with Bitcoin, which just absolutely refuses to cool off. This move is just unreal. I really expected to see some significant resistance right at that 10K level, and the market just blew through it like it was nothing. Had a momentary pause here at around 11,000-ish, and then just rocketed higher, and now is flirting with 13,000. And I'm really surprised to see that happen in one shot. I was expecting it to take maybe a second shot, maybe a pullback, and then a second shot to get up to that level. But right now, it is definitely just heading higher, higher lows and higher highs. And this market just does not want to come down off of that. Does not want to give up. We have a growing oscillator between this high and this high, and right now, the oscillator in the short term is getting a little bit weaker. So we are definitely due for this market to pull back, to cool off a bit. Somewhere coming up soon, that needs to happen, and it is most likely to happen. But this is crypto. Crypto buyers are a little bit fanatical, especially it's all supply and demand driven, and there's so little supply in crypto and such a great demand that even just a small additional amount of capital coming into these markets can push it significantly higher. So right now, I wouldn't want to be jumping in front of this freight train and go against Bitcoin or anything, but I would want to watch for a significant divergence happening here, ideally with some time between the highs. Like if I had seen between this high and this high, if this oscillator was up here, this oscillator was down here, that would be the kind of divergence I look for. A nice big divergence that spans a little bit of time. A divergence that only spans a handful of candles. If price, say price was at the same high, double topped, and the oscillator was weaker, I can't get too excited about that because there's just not a lot of time between the points, and the daily is still going to overpower that. So right now, everything is to the upside. Got to go with the bulls right now on this one. So Bitcoin just a runaway freight train and refusing to come back down and stop for anything. So don't fight that. Don't argue with a trend like this. Don't step in front of it because you might get steamrolled. All right, well, that is it for the morning analysis. I'm going to go get ready for the open, get ready for the premium trading room. So those of you who will be there, I'll see you there. Everybody else, I will be back to do this again on Friday. So real quick, while you're sitting here right now, go push that thumbs up button. Give us a like on the video. Any comments, feedback, suggestions, questions, requests, anything like that, put it in the comment box. Definitely let us know what we could do to help you out. And I'll be back here again on Friday morning, 5:45 a.m. to do this all over again. So I hope you have a great Wednesday. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and happy trading today if you're in the markets. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.